Bella moved slowly through the narrow streets, her ribs showing through her thin, matted fur. Her paws were sore from walking on rough pavement for days, and the cuts on her legs ached every time she stepped. She had once been a lively dog, full of energy, chasing leaves in a park and playing with children. But those days were long gone. Life had been harsh and the world had not been kind to her. For weeks now, Bella had stopped running from humans. She no longer saw them as friends. Most of the time, they ignored her. Sometimes they yelled or threw stones. A few had even tried to trap her with nets, thinking it was fun to scare a stray. Every encounter left a mark, not just on her body but on her mind. Slowly, she had begun to believe that humans were not to be trusted. She had found herself on a quiet street near the edge of the city, where traffic was lighter, but still enough to scare her. She lay down near the curb, her head resting on her front paws, her eyes half closed. She was hungry, exhausted, and in pain. The nights were cold, and her body shivered under the thin layer of fur that was all she had to protect her from the chill. Bella had reached a point where she didn't fight for life as she used to. The hunger was constant, the pain unending, and the loneliness unbearable. She thought of the humans she had trusted before, of the ones who had laughed as she ran past and the ones who had chased her away. Now she waited. Not for food, not for warmth. She waited for something different, a human who might finally end her suffering. It was not that she wanted to die in fear or pain. It was that she was tired of being hurt every day. She wanted relief. She wanted peace. If a human could give that to her, she thought, perhaps it was better than the long, slow struggle she faced alone. Even as she lay there, she listened carefully to every sound. The distant bark of other dogs, the soft rustle of leaves, and the occasional honk of a car, all of it filled her senses. Her ears perked up as she heard footsteps on the sidewalk behind her. She opened her eyes slowly, expecting a shout, a threat, or a hand reaching for her with something sharp. But the steps were slow, deliberate, and careful. The human stopped a few feet away. He did not move toward her suddenly. He stood there quietly, watching. Bella's instincts told her to run, to hide, to protect herself from another human's cruelty. But there was something different about him. He did not look angry or aggressive. His eyes were calm, almost gentle. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. Bella's body tensed, ready to bolt, but her legs felt heavy. She did not move. The man knelt down, not close enough to scare her, but close enough to show he meant no harm. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small packet. Bella's eyes followed every movement, unsure what he was doing. He placed the packet on the ground and stepped back. Bella sniffed it cautiously. It was food. Fresh, soft, and warm-smelling. She hesitated. She had eaten scraps before, yes, but food given directly by a human was rare and dangerous. Yet hunger gnawed at her stomach. Slowly, she crept forward, her nose twitching. She took a small bite, then another, and another, until the packet was empty. The man spoke softly, though Bella didn't understand the words. His tone was kind, patient, and steady. She felt no fear. Something inside her stirred, a memory of warmth she had almost forgotten. She remembered the gentle hands of a child who once petted her, the soft voice of a woman who had smiled at her in a park. Those memories were fleeting, like whispers from a past life, but they were enough to make her pause and watch the man more closely. Days passed, and Bella returned to the same street, waiting near the curb. Each time the man came, he brought food and left it carefully, giving her space. Slowly, she began to recognize him, not by his face alone, but by his actions. He was not like the others. He did not shout, throw stones, or chase her. He did not expect her to obey or be afraid. He simply offered kindness without demand. Bella's life had been a series of struggles. Every day was a battle for survival, and she had learned to rely only on herself. But now, for the first time in a long time, she felt curiosity. Could this human be different? Could he be someone who would not hurt her? Someone who could give her more than just food? Even as she considered this, Bella remained cautious. Her past had taught her that trust was dangerous. One wrong step, one moment of weakness, and she could be hurt again. Her body remained tense, her eyes wary. She waited, not knowing if hope or disappointment would come next. One evening, the man stayed longer than usual. He sat a few meters away, quietly observing, without offering food this time. Bella's ears twitched, her eyes locked on him. Why did he not move away? Why did he not chase her like the others? The silence stretched, heavy with uncertainty. Then slowly, Bella walked closer. She sniffed the ground near him, inch by inch, her movements careful but deliberate. He did not flinch. He did not reach for her. Instead, he simply watched, letting her set the pace. That night, Bella did not go to the curb to wait for death. She returned to a small corner near the street, curled up as best as she could, her body exhausted. But something had changed. A tiny spark of curiosity and hope flickered inside her. Perhaps not all humans were cruel. Perhaps someone could offer more than pain. For the first time in weeks, Bella's eyes closed not just with weariness, but with a sense that tomorrow might be different. She did not know what would happen next, but she felt something she had not felt in a long time. A possibility. A chance, a fragile thread of trust. And though she did not understand it yet, this fragile thread would begin to change everything about her life, and about the way she saw the world. The next morning, Bella woke slowly, her body stiff from the cold night on the hard street. Her stomach grumbled, reminding her that hunger was still there. She padded quietly to the corner near the curb where she had waited the day before. Her ears twitched at every sound, the distant bark of a dog, the hum of a passing car, and the soft steps of a human approaching. It was him. The same man from the evening before. Arif. She did not know his name, of course, but she recognized him by the way he walked, slowly and without rush. Unlike other humans, he did not carry an air of threat. There was no tension in his movements, no harsh gestures, no sharp eyes scanning for weakness. He simply moved as though he belonged in the world without needing to dominate it. Bella stayed hidden for a moment, watching him. Hunger urged her forward, yet caution held her back. She had been hurt too many times before to trust easily. She remembered the nets, the stones, the shouts, the hands that had grabbed her and pulled too hard. Her life had taught her that humans were dangerous, and her instincts told her to stay far away. But something was different about Arif. His presence was quiet, calm, and gentle. He knelt down slowly, resting on one knee, and pulled out a small packet from his coat pocket. Bella's nose twitched. Food. She approached cautiously, one paw after another, testing if he would act aggressively. But he stayed still. He did not move toward her, did not speak loudly, did not make sudden gestures. She sniffed the packet. It smelled good, fresh and warm. Her stomach growled louder, reminding her of the weakness that came from days of hunger. Slowly, Bella took a tentative bite. Then another. She kept her eyes on Arif as she ate. He did not rush her or try to take it away. He simply watched with patience, giving her space. For the first time in many months, Bella felt safe around a human. It was strange and confusing. She had been taught by experience that humans caused pain, yet this one only gave kindness. She continued eating until the packet was empty. Then, as if testing her boundaries, she stepped back, keeping her distance. Arif smiled softly, though Bella did not understand the meaning of the gesture. The tone of his voice was gentle when he spoke, soft enough that it did not startle her. He remained kneeling, quiet and calm, not forcing her to come closer. Bella tilted her head, watching him, sensing no threat in his presence. Over the next few days, this routine repeated. Arif would come, place food carefully on the ground, and retreat a little. Bella would eat, sometimes from a distance, sometimes inching closer. The trust between them grew slowly in tiny steps. Bella began to recognize the sound of his footsteps and the way he moved. She did not run away anymore, but she did not approach fully either. She was testing, learning if this human truly was different. Arif, for his part, did not rush anything. He understood that trust cannot be forced. He had seen animals in pain before, animals who had been hurt by humans and had learned to fear them. He knew that a gentle approach was the only way. He would sit quietly, speak softly, and wait. Over time, Bella responded. She allowed him to come a little closer, and sometimes she even wagged her tail when he spoke kindly. One rainy evening, the sky dark and heavy with clouds, Bella shivered as the wind blew cold. She had no shelter, no warmth, and her thin fur did not protect her from the chill. Arif appeared again carrying a small blanket. He spread it on the ground near the curb, creating a dry, warm spot for her. Bella hesitated, sniffing it carefully. Then slowly she lay down. It was the first time in weeks that she felt warmth under her body. As she rested, her eyes watched Arif. She did not understand him, but she noticed that he cared. He had not chased her, yelled at her, or hurt her. Instead, he had given her food, warmth, and patience. It confused her. Humans were supposed to hurt, yet here was one who did nothing but help. She had no choice but to wonder, could all humans be like this? Or was he an exception? Over the next week, Bella allowed herself to follow him at a distance. She watched as he went about his day, carrying groceries, smiling at shopkeepers, and helping a small child pick up a fallen toy. She saw his kindness not just toward her, but toward the world around him. Slowly, she realized that he was not just safe for her. He was someone who could show her a different side of life. Her trust grew, but so did her caution. She had been hurt too many times to believe in sudden changes. She remained alert, ears high, eyes scanning for danger. But every time Arif came, every time he offered food and kindness without demand, the small barrier around her heart cracked just a little. One afternoon, as she rested near the curb, a loud car honked, startling her. She jumped, ready to flee, but Arif was there in a moment. He knelt down and spoke softly, calming her, showing no anger at her fear. Bella realized something incredible. This human did not punish fear. He understood it. He waited patiently as she calmed herself, her body slowly relaxing. Bella's perspective began to shift. She remembered the humans who had hurt her and compared them to this one man who had done nothing but offer kindness. She could feel the difference. One small act of patience, one simple meal, one quiet presence. These had the power to change everything. That night, Bella curled up on the small blanket Arif had brought. Her body finally warm, her mind racing with new feelings. She felt safe, cared for, and for the first time in a long while, a tiny spark of hope flickered inside her. Maybe her life did not have to be only struggle and pain. Maybe there was room for trust. And though Bella did not yet understand the full story, she felt it deep inside. This encounter was the beginning of something different. Something life-changing. The world that had once been harsh, cruel, and empty of love suddenly seemed to hold a possibility she had almost forgotten. Bella closed her eyes, listening to the soft sounds of the evening. For the first time in months, she slept without fear, her body stretched out, her heart lighter than it had been in a long time. And in that quiet moment, the first chapter of her new life began. One built not on pain, but on patience, kindness, and the fragile, growing bond between a dog who had almost given up and a man who simply chose to care. Bella had been following Arif for several weeks now. Every day she watched him from a distance, sometimes inching closer, sometimes retreating. She had learned to recognize the sound of his footsteps, the shape of his shadow, and even the gentle rhythm of his breathing. Slowly, her fear of humans began to lessen, replaced by cautious curiosity. One afternoon, as the sun shone brightly over the city, Bella wandered a little too far from her safe corner near the curb. She chased a small bird across a quiet street, her excitement blinding her to danger. Suddenly, a car came around the corner too fast. Bella froze, her paws slipping on the hot pavement, her heart pounding in panic. The car screeched to a halt just in time, but she had twisted her leg badly. Pain shot through her body and she yelped softly, unsure if she could stand. Arif, who had been walking nearby, heard her cry. His eyes immediately scanned the street until he spotted her. Without hesitation, he ran toward her. Bella, terrified and in pain, wanted to run, but her leg would not carry her. She yelped again, more loudly this time. Arif knelt down carefully, speaking in a soft, calm voice. He stretched out his hand slowly, letting her sniff it. Bella's body shook, but she sensed no threat. Something in his tone and his steady presence told her that he was not going to hurt her. With gentle hands, Arif lifted Bella, supporting her weight as carefully as possible. Bella's heart raced, but she did not struggle. Somehow she trusted him enough to let him carry her. She had never felt such care before. Humans had always been a source of fear. Yet here was one who offered help without expectation, without force, without judgment. Arif carried her to his small home nearby. He had a little yard and a quiet street, a place far from the chaos of the busy city. He set her down on a soft blanket he had prepared in a corner of his home. Bella lay down immediately, exhausted and sore. Arif examined her leg, his hands gentle and careful. He cleaned the small scrapes on her body and wrapped her leg in a clean bandage. She flinched at the touch at first, but relaxed as he continued softly, speaking in a calm tone she had learned to trust. Days turned into nights, and nights into days. Bella stayed near Arif, slowly learning that she did not have to fear humans all the time. She allowed him to feed her directly from his hands, a gesture that would have been impossible for her a month ago. She began to follow him around the small yard, sniffing and exploring, her body regaining strength. Her tail, which had not wagged in a long time, twitched and even lifted when she saw him smile. Arif, for his part, was patient. He did not rush Bella to trust him fully. He understood that healing, both physical and emotional, takes time. He would sit near her reading a book or simply enjoying the quiet, allowing her to come and go as she wished. Sometimes she would nap near him. Sometimes she would play with a small ball he had left for her, and sometimes she would simply watch him, learning the rhythms of his life. One evening, a soft rain began to fall. Bella sat near the window, watching the droplets slide down the glass. She thought of the streets she had wandered, the cold nights, the hunger, and the pain. She remembered the moments when she had expected death to come from a human hand and compared them to this life she was now living. The contrast was overwhelming. She could not understand why a human would be kind without asking for anything in return. Yet here was proof that kindness existed, even in a world that had seemed cruel and empty. The turning point in Bella's trust came one afternoon when Arif took her outside for a short walk. She was nervous at first, unsure of the world beyond the small yard, but Arif walked slowly, allowing her to sniff, explore, and move at her own pace. They passed a group of children playing in a park. Bella froze, expecting shouting, throwing, or fear. But Arif spoke gently, guiding her without pressure. The children noticed her and smiled. They did not chase her or scream. Bella felt something new, a small, cautious sense of belonging. Over the next few days, Bella's confidence grew. She followed Arif more closely, sometimes staying by his side as he walked to the small grocery store or waved to neighbors. She realized that not all humans were dangerous. Some could be gentle, patient, and caring. This realization changed something deep inside her. The fear that had ruled her life began to fade, replaced by a new sense of hope. Bella also began to notice changes in herself. She played more, wagged her tail more, and even barked softly at the world around her. Her body grew stronger and her wounds healed. More importantly, her heart healed. She learned that trust, once given carefully, could lead to joy. She had expected cruelty from humans her whole life, but Arif had shown her that expectation could be wrong. Arif, too, noticed changes. He had cared for animals before, but Bella's story touched him deeply. He thought about the animals and people who were lost, hurt, and alone. Bella reminded him that even small acts of kindness could make a difference. Her trust was fragile, but it was real, and he knew that his patience and care had helped her find a new life. One quiet night, Bella curled up near Arif's feet as he read a book. The rain tapped softly against the roof, and the room was warm and calm. Bella rested her head, feeling a safety she had never known. She realized that she had been waiting for a human to end her suffering, expecting pain, and yet what she had received was completely different: compassion, patience, and a chance to live again. She thought about the streets, the hunger, the cold nights, and the fear. They were still there in memory, but now they were distant. A new life had begun, built on the trust that had grown between her and a single human who had chosen to act with care rather than cruelty. Bella could not imagine turning back to the life she had before. She had learned that the world could be gentle, that humans could offer love, and that her own heart could open again. And in that moment, Bella realized that this was not just about survival anymore. It was about living fully, feeling joy, and trusting again. She had expected one thing from a human, a hand that might harm her, and she had received something far greater. She had received life, care, and hope. From that day on, Bella walked with a new confidence. She explored her world more freely, approached life with curiosity, and looked to Arif for guidance and companionship. The turning point had come, not with force or threat, but with patience, kindness, and understanding. Bella's life, once filled with fear and despair, now held the promise of happiness and trust, and she embraced it fully. Bella's days became brighter with each passing week. She no longer wandered the streets in fear or pain. Instead, she followed Arif through his small neighborhood, her paws light and her tail slowly wagging. The small house that had once seemed strange and unfamiliar now felt like a safe haven, a place where she could rest without fear. Each morning, Arif would fill a bowl with fresh water and food. Bella would wait patiently, sitting quietly as he placed the bowls on the floor. She had learned the simple routine, trusting that this human would not betray her. Sometimes she would eat slowly, savoring every bite as if tasting safety itself. Other times she would finish quickly, her hunger mixing with curiosity about what the day would bring. Arif also provided warmth and comfort. On cold nights, he would let Bella sleep on a soft blanket near the fireplace. She would curl up, feeling the heat seep into her aching muscles. The comfort was something she had almost forgotten existed. Nights on the street had taught her that warmth was temporary and unreliable, but here it was constant and safe. As her body healed, Bella's spirit began to change as well. She started to play again, chasing small balls and rolling in the yard. She would sometimes bark softly, not from fear but from excitement. The shy glances she once cast at humans were replaced with gentle curiosity. She even began to follow Arif into the kitchen, watching as he cooked, occasionally sniffing at the delicious smells that filled the air. One day, Arif brought a small leash and harness for Bella. At first, she resisted, unsure of the unfamiliar object, but Arif knelt down, speaking softly, showing her the harness and letting her sniff it. Slowly, she allowed him to put it on. It felt strange at first, but she soon realized it meant she could explore the world with safety. Their walks became a daily ritual. Bella would step lightly beside Arif, sniffing flowers, watching birds, and observing children playing in the park. She noticed the world in ways she had never before. The streets were no longer places of danger, but places of life, filled with sounds, smells, and sights that were fascinating rather than threatening. Bella also began to show affection. She would nuzzle Arif's hand, leaning into his touch. Sometimes she would rest her head on his lap, trusting him completely. Arif, in turn, spoke gently, scratched behind her ears, and praised her softly. This mutual care created a bond that went beyond mere survival. Bella felt loved, and Arif felt a quiet joy in giving it. The transformation was not just physical. Bella's mind and heart were healing. She no longer expected cruelty from every human. She began to notice kindness in others, a smile from a neighbor or a gentle pat from a child. Her fear of the world was replaced by a cautious optimism. The scars of her past remained, but they no longer defined her. She had learned that life could be gentle, that trust could be earned, and that happiness was possible. Arif also noticed changes in himself. Caring for Bella had brought him a sense of purpose he had not realized he had been missing. He had lived alone for many years, and his days had often been quiet and lonely. Bella's presence filled the house with life. Her soft breathing, playful movements, and trusting eyes reminded him that love and companionship could come in unexpected forms. Over time, Bella began to interact more with the world beyond Arif's home. She would walk with him to the nearby market, staying close to his side while observing the people around her. She learned the rhythm of the streets, recognizing friendly faces and avoiding those who still posed a threat. Her confidence grew with each step, and she began to greet new humans with careful curiosity rather than fear. One afternoon, a small group of children approached the yard. Bella froze at first, unsure of what to do, but Arif knelt beside her, speaking softly, encouraging her to stay calm. Slowly, she approached the children, sniffing their outstretched hands. They giggled softly, letting her explore at her own pace. Bella felt an unfamiliar warmth in her chest. Acceptance, not danger. She realized that humans could be kind in many ways, and that her past experiences did not define every interaction. Bella's transformation was complete when she began to show joy in simple moments. She chased leaves blown by the wind, rolled in the grass, and even barked happily at passing dogs. The timid, fearful stray had become a confident, playful companion. She had discovered not only trust in a single human, but a renewed sense of life. Arif marveled at Bella's change. He had seen countless animals struggle, but Bella's journey was remarkable. She had gone from the brink of despair, expecting cruelty at every turn, to a state of trust, joy, and confidence. It reminded him that patience and kindness could overcome fear and trauma. One small act repeated with care had changed a life entirely. Bella's story also became a quiet lesson for Arif. He realized that helping another being, even in small ways, could bring profound change. She had shown him the impact of empathy, patience, and understanding. Their relationship was no longer just about feeding and caring for her. It was a shared life, filled with trust, companionship, and mutual respect. As days passed, Bella no longer waited by the streets. She no longer expected harm from humans. Instead, she spent her time exploring, playing, and resting beside Arif. The streets she had once feared were now full of possibilities, filled with scents, sounds, and sights that delighted her. The cold nights of hunger and fear were replaced with warmth, comfort, and safety. One quiet evening, Bella sat by the window, watching the sunset. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, and the world outside seemed calm and beautiful. She thought of the past, the streets, the hunger, the pain, and realized how far she had come. Her life had changed because of one human who had acted with kindness instead of cruelty. And in that moment, Bella understood something important. Life could be hard, even cruel, but there was always hope. Trust, once given carefully, could lead to joy. And sometimes the smallest acts of compassion could transform not only one life, but the lives of those who gave that compassion as well. Bella looked at Arif, who was reading quietly nearby. She nuzzled his hand softly, a gesture full of gratitude and love. Arif smiled, scratching behind her ears gently. In that simple moment, the bond between them was clear, a bond built on trust, patience, and understanding. Bella had waited for a human to end her suffering, expecting fear and harm. But instead she had found care, patience, and love. Her life had been transformed not by force but by quiet kindness and consistent compassion. She was no longer a stray filled with fear. She was a companion, confident and joyful, living a life full of possibilities. And as the evening settled into night, Bella curled up beside Arif, safe, warm, and at peace. She had found more than survival. She had found a home, a friend, and a reason to hope. The morning sun streamed through the window, painting the room with warm, golden light. Bella stretched her legs and yawned, her body strong and healthy after weeks of care and healing. Gone were the days of hunger, cold, and fear. She had found a home, and more importantly, she had found trust in a human again. Arif was already awake, sitting at the small kitchen table with a cup of tea. He looked up as Bella padded into the room, her tail wagging lightly. She nudged his hand gently, a quiet greeting that spoke of gratitude, affection, and the bond they had built over time. Arif smiled and scratched behind her ears. It was a simple gesture, but for Bella it carried meaning deeper than words could express. Their mornings followed a routine that had become comforting for both of them. Arif would prepare breakfast and Bella would wait patiently, sometimes pacing softly in excitement. She had learned the rhythm of the house, the sounds of doors opening and closing, the footsteps of Arif moving around, and the subtle changes in light throughout the day. This routine was her new safety net, a predictable rhythm that brought her peace. After breakfast, they would go for their walk. Bella had grown confident and curious about the world. She no longer hesitated at the edge of streets or shied away from strangers. Her steps were light, her nose eager to explore the scents carried by the breeze. Children in the neighborhood waved at her, and she sometimes barked softly in greeting. Her tail wagged freely, a symbol of her joy and trust. Arif watched her closely during these walks. He marveled at the transformation he had witnessed. The timid, injured stray that he had found weeks ago had blossomed into a confident, joyful companion. Her eyes, once filled with fear and suspicion, now shone with curiosity and life. He felt a quiet satisfaction in knowing that his patience, care, and consistency had helped her reclaim her spirit. One afternoon, as they walked through the park, Bella noticed other animals around her. A small puppy bounded toward her, tail wagging, full of energy. At first, she tensed slightly, unsure of how to react. But then she remembered the lessons she had learned with Arif: patience, trust, and understanding. She sniffed the puppy gently, and the two began to play together, rolling in the grass and chasing each other. Bella felt the joy of friendship and connection once more. Her new life was not just about safety and comfort. It was about experiences, discovery, and happiness. Bella began to understand that life could be filled with small, beautiful moments. A sunny morning, the smell of fresh grass, the laughter of children, the touch of a kind hand. These were treasures she had once thought impossible to enjoy. Now they were part of her daily life. Arif also found joy in their shared life. Caring for Bella had changed him in ways he had not expected. He had learned patience, empathy, and the quiet power of consistency. He discovered that helping another living being, even in small ways, could bring fulfillment beyond measure. Watching Bella grow, explore, and trust again gave him a sense of purpose and connection that he had been missing. Over time, Bella began to anticipate Arif's movements and moods. She could sense when he was happy, tired, or thoughtful. She would stay close when he seemed worried, nuzzle him gently when he appeared sad, and playfully leap around when he smiled. Their relationship became a conversation without words, a silent understanding built on trust, care, and mutual respect. One evening, as the sun set in brilliant shades of orange and pink, Bella and Arif sat in the small yard. Bella lay comfortably beside him, her head resting on his lap. She looked up at him with eyes full of trust and gratitude. Arif gently stroked her fur, smiling quietly. In that moment, the bond between them was complete, strong, and unshakable. Bella thought back to her life before Arif. The streets, the hunger, the fear, and the pain all seemed like distant memories now. She realized how much she had grown, how much she had healed, and how much love she had received. What had begun as a fragile trust had grown into a full life filled with companionship, joy, and safety. Her story, though filled with struggle, had a happy ending. She had waited for a human to end her suffering, expecting harm and fear. Instead, she had found kindness, patience, and love. That single choice, Arif's decision to act with care rather than cruelty, had changed her life entirely. As weeks turned into months, Bella's confidence and joy continued to grow. She explored new places with Arif, sometimes venturing a little further from the yard, always returning safely. She greeted neighbors, observed birds, and even made a few canine friends along the way. Her life was full, vibrant, and meaningful. Arif noticed that Bella's presence had also inspired him to reach out to others. He began volunteering at a local animal shelter, sharing his experience and teaching others about patience, trust, and the power of kindness. Bella's transformation had created a ripple effect, influencing not only her life but also the lives of the people around her. The quiet streets where Bella had once waited for death now seemed full of possibility. She no longer expected the worst from humans. Instead, she looked for the small acts of care and connection that could brighten each day. She had learned that while life could be hard, trust and compassion could create beauty even in the darkest places. One morning, as Bella rested in the sunlight streaming through the window, she closed her eyes and reflected on her journey. She had survived hunger, pain, and fear, and she had found a human who taught her the true meaning of care. She had discovered trust, friendship, and joy. Her life was no longer about survival. It was about living fully, loving, and being loved. And as Arif entered the room, smiling at her, she lifted her head and nuzzled him gently. In that simple act, all her experiences, struggles, and growth were reflected. Bella had found more than a home. She had found a family, a friend, and a reason to hope. Her journey had begun with despair, expecting the worst from humans, and it had ended with love, safety, and trust. Bella's story became a quiet reminder that a single act of kindness could change a life completely. As the sun set and the sky turned shades of pink and purple, Bella lay beside Arif, warm, safe, and content. She had survived the streets, healed her wounds, and discovered the power of compassion. Her life was no longer defined by fear or pain, but by love, joy, and the endless possibilities that came with trust. Bella had waited for a human to end her suffering, but what she had received instead had changed everything. Her story was a story of transformation, hope, and the incredible difference that one compassionate choice could make. And in that quiet moment, with the soft sounds of the evening around her, Bella finally understood what it meant to live fully, safely, and happily. She had truly found a new life.